At the center of this federal election is the ongoing trade war with the United States. And one of the cities most affected is right here, Windsor, Ontario, where the auto sector employs tens of thousands of people, both in its plants and in the businesses that support those plants. James Stewart is the president of Unifor Local 444. It represents 4,500 workers at the Windsor Assembly plant. You and I have spoken before remotely, James, so great to meet you in person. Thanks for being on your morning.
Thanks for having us.
Listen, earlier this month, U.S. President Donald Trump imposed those 25% tariffs on all foreign vehicles. Then in response, Stellantis, we know, had the shutdown at the plant. The thousands of workers you represent were home, and now they were back at work this week. Can you tell me what they're saying to you about what it was like at the plant and how they're feeling as they look down the road and the uncertainty that lies ahead?
I think a lot of the workers, and it's not just the 4,500 from the Windsor Assembly plant, we have another 3,000 or 4,000 in parts around the city. And I think they're hoping that we're going to find a resolve to this, either through our conversations with the government, our talking with the companies, trying to make sure they remain committed to Canada. I think they're hoping and counting on us to get some work done for them.
You know, it's got to be frustrating. You've said in the past it's been frustrating because we don't know what the tariffs are for. We don't know what they're about. We've heard Donald Trump talk about fentanyl. We've heard him talk about immigration, unfair trade practices. And then just Wednesday, just this week, he said, we don't want your cars, about Canada, and then went on to say they took a large percentage of car making. I want to bring it back. How do you reassure your workers when you hear statements like that coming from the White House?
Well, the first thing, how you reassure them is by making sure you're putting the facts out there. We have not taken U.S. auto jobs. Right now, Stellantis builds 2 shifts of production here in Canada. Ford is not building a vehicle in Canada today because of the retool happening in Oakville. Oshawa has only 1 plant building vehicles. We traditionally build about 2 million vehicles in Canada. We're down to 1.3 million. And we buy more than that from the United States today. So there is a deficit in favor of the U.S. Versus Canada in terms of auto sales and where cars are shipping from. So it's a fallacy when President Donald Trump from the U.S. says these things. It's just not true. And that's the first thing, making sure you're putting facts out there and then working on getting to the root cause of what he's after, which changes all the time. It's very difficult.
Well, I can hear some of the frustration in your voice, so tell me how that trickles down to workers when you see the guy who's calling the shots, making the decisions at the desk in the Oval Office saying things that aren't true and talking about bringing manufacturing back to that side of the river.
Sure. You know, I think it hits home with auto workers, regardless of your political stripes. When they hear Donald Trump saying, I'm going to take your job away from you, that's my goal. It's scary. And it's not just, you know, Southwestern Ontario. There's a lot of auto manufacturing, a lot of auto parts. It's scary, and it will be devastating to Ontario and across the country if it comes to fruit. And it will be devastating in the U.S., especially on May 3rd, if the parts come under some type of tariff. It will bring a halt to the industry.
We, of course, put the retaliatory tariffs on in response to the initial round of tariffs. Does that help or hurt that action?
I think they have to. I don't think President Donald Trump is the type of leader that just says, okay, yeah, I'll keep beating you down and you take it and that's okay. He doesn't respond well to that. I think that's his goal, but Canada has to respond strong. We have to do a couple of things. Respond strong, think outside the box. It just can't be about retaliatory auto tariffs. It's got to be looking at everything, and aluminum and steel. It's got to be every tool you have to make sure you have a card in your pocket to play. And I think Canada has to do that. We have to keep working behind the scenes with our counterparts in the U.S. to resolve the tariff issue. The goal has to be to eliminate them, but we can't stop there. We have to respond strong and keep those conversations happening.
Speaking about your counterparts in the U.S., what are your conversations like with them? They've got one message coming out of their government, and but you guys are joined and united in this automaking process.
Well, there's not a lot of conversation with the UAW right now. I think the UAW knows straight up that Canada is not the problem. However, they're not saying that to their members. It's not a popular thing for them to say because the popular thing is, hey, we're getting jobs back. And when they hear the president say that, it's a popular thing for them. So he's not going to come out and say Canada's not the problem. In fact, Canada's lost more jobs than the U.S. in terms of auto. So there's not a lot of conversation.
Now the unions can't even talk to each other.
Well, we can, but there's not a lot of conversation happening. We're talking with governments. We're talking with every level of government, the city government, municipal, federal, and provincial, having a lot of conversations about what we see needs to be done to protect our industry.
Looking ahead to the election on Monday, whoever forms government, what do you need to be saying at the table? What conversations do they need to be having on the phone?
I think they have to protect jobs, protect industries, protect workers that are affected negatively by the impacts of this tariff war, and then protect Canada. We can't just sit back and say, hey, we're going to be a 51st state. We've got autonomy. We're a sovereign country, and that has to be the principal message. We're having a rally here Saturday, Unifor, sending that message, non-partisan. It's not about a party. It's about making sure whoever forms government understands what needs to be done.
James Stewart, president of Unifor Local 444. Thanks. Great to meet you in person again. Thanks for always talking to us here on Your Morning.
Thanks for having me.
If you like that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.